Here's something that almost nobody talks about. Most people have already made up their mind about Christianity, but most of them have never actually heard what it's all about. And I'm not just talking about people who don't go to church. I'm also talking about people who go to church every single Sunday. You might be surprised how many people don't know what's going on at the altar or why any of it matters. All of these people have already decided what they think about something that they don't really know that much about, and getting them to reconsider to actually look at the evidence is genuinely difficult. What I've found is that the moment you sit down and explain what Christians believe and why, something changes. The people who thought this was all made up start asking real questions. And the people who thought they already believed start realizing that nobody ever actually explained this stuff to them. That's what this series is about. We're going to walk through what Christians believe from scratch, assuming you don't know anything, so that by the end you can make up your own mind about what you actually think. Before I tell you what we're going to cover, I'm going to make sure that I know who I'm talking to, because some people come to a series like this from very different places. In my experience, most people fall into one of four groups. The first group is the cradle Catholic. You were raised in the church, you received your sacrament, and you show up to Mass on Sundays. But honestly, you're not totally sure what's happening up at the altar. If that's you, don't feel bad. You're not alone. In most cases, you probably never had somebody sit down and explain the faith to you clearly. The second group are the skeptics. You're not necessarily against religion, but you don't think it's for you. Maybe you think believers just aren't that skeptical, or that they're following without really thinking. If you're in this group, I get it. Some of what we believe sounds strange from the outside, but there is a foundation to it. I wouldn't be asking you to take this seriously if there wasn't. And the third group is the genuinely curious. You have Christian friends, you keep running into this stuff, and you just don't understand what the big deal is. That's a perfectly good reason to be here too. The fourth group are the restless seekers. You're looking for something, but you're not sure what. You know something is missing in your life, you just can't put your finger on it. This is probably the largest group of all, because at some point almost everyone asks, is this really it? There has to be more to life than this. And honestly, you might be right. You might just not have looked in the right place yet. Whichever one of those sounds like you, this series is for you. But before we go any further, I want to make you a few promises about how I'm going to present this. You deserve to know exactly what you're getting into. I promise I will start from scratch. I'm going to assume you don't know anything and you don't believe anything. I promise I will ask the hard questions, even the ones that make people walk away from the faith, and we will take them seriously. I promise I will follow the evidence honestly and show you where it leads. I promise I will treat you like an adult who can hear an argument and make their own decision. No pressure, no sales pitch. I promise I won't pretend the hard questions don't exist. We will talk about suffering, evil, and the very real mistakes the church has made. I'm not leaving anything out. I promise I won't use jargon, and if I have to use a term you might not know, I'll explain it clearly before moving on. I also promise that I won't skip the parts that are difficult or embarrassing. The goal of this series is not to convince you of anything. It's to be open and honest about the faith and then let you decide. You may be wondering who I am and why I think I can walk you through all of this. Hi, my name is Carlos. I'm the Director of Religious Education at a large Catholic parish, which basically means I'm responsible for teaching the faith to a lot of people who, in many cases, really don't want to be there when the program starts. Actually, one of the biggest groups is teenagers. I teach teenagers for a living, and it's a really tough crowd. They'll tell you immediately when something sounds fake or doesn't make sense. What I've learned from doing this is that if you share the faith openly and honestly without skipping the hard parts, something happens. People who came in skeptical start asking real questions. People who came in thinking that they already believe start realizing that the foundation to their belief is deeper than they realized. This series is my attempt to put all of that into one place so that anyone, anywhere can get a clear and honest look at what Christianity actually claims and why. Here's what we're going to cover. I've broken this into 4 parts, and each one builds on the last, so try to watch in order if you can. Part 1 is going to be, does God exist? Is it reasonable for an intelligent person to believe in God in the age of science and AI? We're going to look at the actual arguments, not just the assumptions. In part 2, we're going to cover, did Jesus really exist? And if he did, what exactly did he claim to be? And what do we do with that? That's where this whole series pivots. In part 3, what did Jesus leave behind? We're going to talk about the church, the sacraments. I'll explain what those are later in the series, and why any of it still matters today. And in part 4, what does a life built around Jesus actually look like? Not some extreme move to the desert version. What does it look like on a regular Tuesday in a real life with real problems? That's the roadmap. 49 episodes, one thing at a time. Before you go to episode 1, I want to ask you to do one thing. Ask yourself, what do I actually believe about God right now and why? If you want extra credit, write the answer down, even just a sentence or two, because at the end of the series, I'm going to ask you to come back to what you wrote and see if anything has changed. Now, if you got something out of this video, hit the like button. It genuinely helps other people find the series. And if you want to follow along as we go, subscribe so you don't miss the next one. Now, if you know somebody who's been asking these kinds of questions, share this with them. This is exactly the kind of thing that's easier to watch with somebody else. In episode 1, we're going to start with the questions themselves, the ones that every human being eventually asks, no matter what they believe or where they grew up. Because before we can talk about God, we need to talk about why these questions won't leave us alone. I'll catch you in the next one.